So I previously talked about the current mascots across the NBA, but with this video, I'm going to share the NBA mascots that no longer exist. This may be because they were retired by the team, a team changed their name, or the mascot was just flat out abandoned. I have 17 mascots from 11 NBA teams, so let's check them out, and at the end of the video, let me know if I missed any throughout NBA history. In the 1980s, New Jersey Nets ownership wanted to change their name to the New Jersey Swamp Dragons. They proposed this idea because of low attendance and poor merchandise sales with the Nets brand. They thought that an animated cartoon dragon and the logos associated with it would appeal to kids more and would be much better than the bland Nets name. So as a result, they spent $500,000 on changing the name and the logos, but eventually the idea was dropped. However, the one thing that they kept from that was their mascot, and their mascot became Duncan the Dragon. So unfortunately, I can only find one picture of Duncan the Dragon because he was a mascot from the 80s till 90s. There isn't much video footage or pictures that I could find. Based on this picture, he looks like Puff the Magic Dragon that the Orlando Magic have. He has a very similar design, and I'm going to assume that he had green as his actual fur color, and it also goes with the Swamp Dragon logo designs that I looked at that the Nets tried to rebrand to. So I'd say this mascot's pretty innovative and was a good idea for the time period. If only the Nets actually just rebranded to the Swamp Dragons, I think it would have been cool. So this is Duncan the Swamp Dragon. Another mascot that the Nets had was named Super Dunk, and I could not find any information on him. All I know is that Super Dunk was an official New Jersey Nets mascot, but this is the only picture I can find on him, and there were some articles just mentioning his name. There's absolutely no information I could find on him, but it seems like Super Dunk was an official Nets mascot, my guess between the 80s and 90s. So in the 1997-98 season, the New Jersey Nets actually decided to remove Duncan as their official mascot and make Sly the Fox their official mascot. And Sly the Fox is obviously a silver fox, and also Sly the Fox had like a mini-me, which was Mini Sly, and both of them were just silver foxes. They used to entertain the crowd, and they looked pretty cool. To me, they looked more like wolves rather than foxes. I don't know, I think that would have been a little bit better if they made them brown or something, and fox doesn't really go with the Nets, but I guess they have to have some kind of mascot. So this is Sly the Silver Fox as the Nets mascot, and they would have him until they moved to Brooklyn. So when the Nets moved to Brooklyn, they decided to introduce a whole new mascot with the rebrand, and this mascot was the Brooklyn Knight, which was introduced in 2012, and he was designed to be a superhero that defended Brooklyn. And they went so in depth with it that they even had Marvel, yes, Marvel, even designed a comic book which gives the mascot a character backstory. So that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, not many fans were really fond of him, and they retired him after the 2014-15 season. So in my opinion, I could see why a lot of fans didn't like him. He's kind of scary, and you can't really tell what he is. He's all completely blacked out, and he has the chrome as like accents for the costume. It's a little bit more intimidating than most mascots, and I could understand why maybe like some kids wouldn't like him. And that's, in my opinion, one of the main reasons to have a team mascot. So I understand why a lot of fans didn't like it, and I'm not really a big fan of the Brooklyn Knight either. So when the Charlotte Bobcats became a team in 2004, they decided to make their mascot Rufus D. Lynx, and he was there from 2004 till 2014. And the name for this mascot is actually a play on the scientific name for a bobcat, which is Lynx rufus. So instead they just made it Rufus D. Lynx, like D as in the. So basically he's just a giant bobcat, and then he has some pretty cool shades on, some sunglasses. It's very simple, but he's a cool mascot, and unfortunately they got rid of him when they switched to the Charlotte Hornets again, but nonetheless he was a pretty cool mascot. Now in 1995, the Cleveland Cavaliers decided to debut this mascot, who is Whammer. And Whammer is a polar bear that used to dunk during halftime. Unfortunately, a lot of fans didn't really like him, so they had to discontinue him, but I think he's pretty cool, and the Cavs still bring him back during the season on a few games. So they actually have their normal two mascots, and then occasionally they bring back this one to entertain the crowd. So I think he's pretty cool, just a plain white polar bear with some pretty cool sunglasses, kind of like the last one. but nonetheless, pretty cool mascot. The Pistons had a mascot from 1994 till 1996, only 2 years, and his name was Sir Slam-A-Lot. Unfortunately, this is the only picture I could find of him, but he looks like just a normal dude dressed up in a weird like Transformers costume. I don't know what they were going with. All I know is that he was really unpopular with fans, so they basically just got rid of him after 2 years. And he used to dunk a lot during halftime, just like a lot of these mascots in like the 90s and the 2000s. But this is what Sir Slam-A-Lot looked like, and he was actually replaced by their current mascot, Hooper, which is a horse. Before the beloved Clutch the Bear, the Rockets actually had another mascot named Turbo, and he was really popular among fans because he did some crazy cool flipping dunks, and he also had some pretty cool friends. One of them was named Booster. I couldn't find names for other ones, but they all just did some pretty cool dunks during the game, during halftime, during timeouts, and he was really beloved by fans. Unfortunately, he was retired in 1995, but the memory of Turbo lives on. So in 1996, the Warriors actually moved to San Jose for 1 year while Oracle Arena was being renovated. And to draw new fans from San Jose, they decided to create a mascot, and his name was Berserker. There's actually no picture or any documented images on him that I could find, but he was described as being furry, having sunglasses, and wearing a floppy hat, and he was also just some kind of creature. So there's nothing really too much on him, but he was definitely a Warriors mascot for at least 1 year. The following year, in 1997, the Warriors team actually rebranded, and with that came a new mascot. That mascot was Thunder, and he was basically just an acrobatic blue guy with a lot of muscles, and he sometimes carried a lightning bolt. They unfortunately in 2008 had to give up Thunder because the Supersonics actually moved to Oklahoma City and decided to change their name to the Thunder. So with that, they could not keep this mascot anymore, so the Warriors had to get rid of Thunder in 2008, even though he was a very beloved mascot and a lot of people really liked him. The Indiana Pacers also had like a secondary mascot, which was like the sidekick to their current mascot, Boomer. Because Boomer's a cat, this mascot, Bowser, is actually a dog. And he was there from 2002 till 2009, and he was just a really fun-loving mascot. He looked kind of goofy, had this dog face and one eye bigger than the other. It was pretty cool. I kind of like him better than Boomer personally, because he's a little bit more fun. But they had him until 2009, unfortunately, no longer there. The Clippers also had a weird mascot back when they played in San Diego. His name was Sam Dunk. Not Slam Dunk, but Sam Dunk. And he actually never dunked because Donald Sterling, their owner at the time, bought a trampoline but like never allowed him to use it. It was a weird thing. I'm not really sure what happened there, but he was really disliked by a lot of fans. And one notable story is that he actually pulled a fan out of the stands and started dancing with her, and he actually broke her bracelet. It was actually the wife of Donald Sterling, so she didn't really mind it as much, but this got the guy working inside the mascot suit into a lot of trouble. So Sam Dunk looks like a captain of a ship, which makes sense because that's what the Clippers are based off of, but he doesn't really look that appealing, so not a big fan of this mascot. The Philadelphia 76ers had a really cool mascot from the 80s until 1996, and his name was Big Shot, and basically he was just a giant blue thing with a big blue belly and orange hair and sunglasses, and he was really well liked by fans because he was really similar to the Philly Fanatic, which is the Phillies baseball team. He was just really fun and gave a lot of fans a lot of memories, so I heard he's a pretty cool mascot, so that's what we're going to go with. Now in 1996, the Philadelphia 76ers actually decided to get a new mascot, and this one was Hip Hop. And he is most notable for being part of the Allen Iverson era of the Philadelphia 76ers. And he was just a rabbit character, which was associated with hip-hop and did a lot of cool dunks and stuff. He dunked over people, a motorcycle before, and a ladder. And unfortunately, in 2011, when new owners bought the team, they decided to retire the mascot. He really hasn't been seen since, but he's most associated with the Allen Iverson era. And he actually kind of has mixed reviews among Philadelphia fans, but I remember from when I was a little kid, and I really liked him at the time. Now, a lot of you guys probably know that the Phoenix Suns mascot used to be a gorilla, but actually, the Sacramento Kings also had a gorilla as their mascot. Unfortunately, I don't know what years he was there for, but I know that they retired him in 1996, and he actually was pretty beloved by fans, and he was a pretty good fan favorite. There isn't much information on this mascot, but he was a gorilla. He looks really similar to the Suns gorilla mascot. Overall, he's just very basic, just a gorilla mascot. I'm sure he did some pretty cool dunks and stuff, which was really popular in the 90s among NBA mascots. So overall, this is the Sacramento Kings mascot, the gorilla. So from 1978 till 1985, the Seattle Supersonics, yes, Seattle's basketball team, had a mascot which was called the Wheedle. And the Wheedle was actually based off of a character from a children's book by an author who made it based in Seattle. So if you look up that children's book, it talks about the Wheedle, but it's actually the first female character in the NBA. And overall, it's just associated with a lot of things in Seattle. It was a mascot for like a radio station and also the Space Needle in Seattle. So it's associated with a lot of things, and she was really beloved by fans. Unfortunately, they got rid of him for the next mascot, which was Squatch. And he was the mascot for the Seattle Supersonics from 1993 till 2008 when they moved to Oklahoma City. And he actually had some pretty cool stuff. He had a song written about him, and he also tried to set the world record of jumping 30 feet on inline skates over vehicles. And those vehicles were actually owned by Ray Allen, which was a player at the time, and also Robert Swift. And luckily, the city of Seattle still owns the rights to this mascot. So if the Seattle Supersonics ever return to Seattle, or like another team moves there, they can have this mascot again, which I think out of all these mascots that I talked about in this video, I think the Squatch is probably the best one. Now finally, we have the Washington Bullets mascot, and his name was Hoops, and unfortunately this is the only picture I could find of Hoops. He was just basically a huge basketball in a net, and it was all completely orange, wore a pretty cool hat, and he started in 1988, and I'm guessing he stayed as the mascot for the Bullets until they became the Washington Wizards. And one interesting fact about him, which is pretty interesting, he was thrown out of their arena by Steve Javie, who is a pretty well-known NBA ref, because he started inciting the crowd to go against the refs and blame the refs for, I guess, a call that happened in the game. This is a pretty cool mascot, and doesn't really have to do with the team that much, but overall, just a general mascot named Hoops.